Hello and welcome to the 10th edition of Subscriber Showcase. But before we get into the video, a quick shout out to my patrons. Thanks guys, I really appreciate the support you give me. But without further ado, let's move on to the video. Hi, I'm Matt and you're watching Model Minutes. So, Subscriber Showcase is your chance to show off your work to the rest of the modelling community. Let's see who sent some submissions in this time. First up we have Adrian. He has sent in a double feature, a Spitfire Mark 5B in 1/72nd scale from Italeri, and also a Bf109F. This is what he has to say about his kits. For the Spitfire, this version fought over the skies of North Africa in 1943. The colours he used were Humbrol 29, 93 and Model Master Azure Blue because the Azure Blue from Humbrol was very different to the colours he found on the internet. He decided to apply a wash simulating sand because he used the Tamiya matte varnish, but when it dried it doesn't go quite as clear as he'd like, and he was told that he could try a wash. It was the first ever go he had, and it turned out pretty well. Also, this is the first model that he's used a satin varnish before applying decals, and afterwards used a Humbrol matte varnish, and it worked far better than the Tamiya version. For his 109F, he says he built this aircraft at the same time as the Spitfire. Both were painted using an African paint scheme. He says the 109 was a better kit than the Spitfire, and he also tried using a wash on this one, having confidence from his previous Spitfire version. He says the fit of the parts weren't very good in this kit, and he's also disappointed that it doesn't have the option to build it with the landing gear retracted. He hopes that he might be able to build this into a diorama in the future. You can connect with Adrian on his Instagram, and I'll post his username underneath the video. I think these models look fantastic, and I'm really glad you sent them in, so thanks to Adrian for these two aircraft. Next up we have Alex, and he submitted a Hobby Boss Kraz 255B. He says the model is meant to represent a vehicle that has been repainted in civilian markings and then has been left to rust. Hairspray chipping along with oil paints and AK interactive washes were used to build up an overall abandoned look. If you'd like to find out more information on how he built this video, you can take a look on his YouTube channel, Rustin Custom Models, and I'll link it underneath the video. I think this truck looks great, and we don't get submissions like this very often, so it's quite nice to see something a little bit different. Thanks, Alex, for sending this in. Next up, we've got a 1/48th scale Bf109 G6 in Hungarian markings from Christoph. He says that he's 16 years old and this is his 20th kit. He got this model for Christmas and made it into a mini diorama which was inspired by a picture he saw online showing a Hungarian pilot posing in front of his 109. Overall, the kit went together quite nicely, with only minor amounts of filler needed at the wing roots. He says that as this is only his second airbrushed kit, he wasn't sure whether or not to mask the plane whilst applying the camo. He ended up doing the camo freehand and he's quite pleased with the result. When the paint had dried, he applied the aftermarket decals, which conformed nicely to the panel lines. He also added some subtle weathering effects to the kit. For the base plate, he used grass fibres from Noch to simulate spring grass. He finds the shade of green a bit too light, but maybe he can improve on that in the future. I think he's done a great job with this model, and I love the way that he's displayed it as part of a little diorama. Thanks Christoph for sending this one in. Next up, we've got some submissions from CLK3088. Apologies if I haven't quite said that correctly. All of these model aircraft were made from wood, carved into shape and then painted. And I'll let you just take a look at these. I don't have very much information about them, but I think they look absolutely stunning, especially considered as they were carved completely out of wood. Thanks so much for sending these in. They were really something special to show us. Up next, we've got the Flying Centurion. He sent in a diorama of an unexploded bomb on a beach, and his second submission is a Hurricane Mark 1 by Zvezda in 1:144 scale. If you'd like to see more of the Flying Centurion, you can connect with him on his YouTube channel, and I'll add the link underneath the video. I think that these look pretty cool. I like the creativity that's gone into the diorama, and I also think the Hurricane looks like an interesting kit, and I'm really tempted to get one myself. So thanks Flying Centurion for sending these in. Up next we've got ItzTobi from Germany. This is his 1/72 scale Bf109 F-2 from Revell. It's the second model he's built so far, and he's very proud of it. He does say he needs to weather it a little bit further and find a fitting stand on which to mount it. I think he's done a good job with this model kit, and it has a very clean overall finish, which I quite like. I quite like the display base he's using there, but as he's mentioned before, he might need to find a different stand due to the fact that it's not got its landing gear down. Thanks ItzTobi for sending these in. Up next we've got Joby, and you can connect with Joby on his Instagram. He sent us 3 different kits to take a look at. The first kit is a Revell 1:144 scale Concorde, which he found was alright to build. There were issues with the fit on most parts, but the worst were the 3 wing pieces, as they left massive gaps and needed to be filled quite a bit. He would recommend this kit to anyone with a medium to a lot of experience due to the need of filler and a lot of patience. The next model is a Revell 1/48 scale A26B Invader, and he says he absolutely loved making this kit because it had a lot of detail that you could paint. It has moving propellers, and he also liked the decal on the nose, which looked kind of funny. The plastic was moulded in very soft plastic, and that made it hard to align the fuselage properly, but other than a couple of other minor issues, it was a great kit which he would recommend to most people. And the final submission is a Revell 1/72 scale Avro Lancaster. He says it was enjoyable to build, and it has some great interior details, including a detailed bomb bay, and it has some great... He says it was an enjoyable kit to build, with some great interior details, including a well-detailed bomb bay. There weren't any fitting issues really, apart from the nacelles connecting into the wings, and they left a little gap, but that could be filled quite easily. He says he'd recommend this kit to anyone with a little experience making bombers. I'm yet to build any large bombers on my channel, and this has given me quite a lot of inspiration to get started on my own, so maybe we just need to watch this space and I'll be able to join Joby with some bombers in my collection. Thanks for sending these in. Up next we've got Matthew with his Tamiya 1/32 scale Tiger 1 early production kit. If you'd like to see more of his work, head over to his Instagram, which I'll add underneath the channel. He says that this is the first tank he ever built. And if I'm honest, it looks absolutely fantastic. I love all the little details that have been picked out in the correct colours and the subtle little bits of weathering here and there. Perhaps one day I'll be able to build a tank as good as this. Thanks Matthew for sending these in. Up next we've got a submission from Nick. This is his first scale model ever. It's a Bedford QL Refueling vehicle which came as included in the Airfix RAF Battle of Britain airfield set. It's in 1/76 scale and is all hand painted with the colours provided in the kit. He says he did break a couple of pieces, like the bar that crosses the front grille and the front passenger axle broke off, which resulted in having to glue the tyre directly onto it. Some fitting problems with the doors did occur, but he was a bit nervous about using any putty, so left the passenger door open and left the back doors open to show the paint job on the pumps and other details in the back. Some of the decals did not fit exactly where they were supposed to go, so he did end up repositioning some. You can see the bent ladder on one side, and that is where he misplaced one of the parts. All in all, he had a great time building this kit, and he's very excited to continue with his modelling hobby. For a first go, I think you've done an absolutely fantastic job. This is considerably better than the standard of model that I managed to produce on my first go, so well done to you. Thanks Nick for sending this in. Up next we've got another beginner, NZ Gamer, and he's sent in his Focke-Wulf FW190 in 1/72. He says that although he made many mistakes during the construction of this kit, he thought he'd like to share it to the community as he's proud of his achievement and he's hopeful that he can learn from any mistakes. So please take a look at this model, and if you've got any constructive criticism for NZ Gamer, make sure you post them underneath the video. Personally, I think you've done a good job with this. Yes, the paint might be a little bit thick in places and a little bit untidy here and there, but for a beginner, it's a great job and you shouldn't be put off at all. Let's face it, at the end of the day, I've probably built hundreds of models in my time and I'm still not getting them perfect. Every mistake we make is a lesson learned, and that's the only way we can improve. I look forward to seeing more of your submissions in the future and seeing how you progress. Thanks for sending that one in. And finally, we've got a submission from Soloman, who sent in 2 of his dioramas which are side by side. A field soaked with water and a desert. Various vehicles are positioned on the Diorama Bases, including a Cromwell and Vickers Light tank, both in 1/76, and a British Vampire F-3 in 1/72 scale. He has also painted a Val Japanese bomber in captured RAF colours, and I quite like it when people decide to go a little bit off the instructions and do their own thing. So well done to you for coming up with something quite interesting to look at. Thanks for sending this one in, Soloman, and thanks to everyone else who's sent in a submission so far. Don't forget that if you'd like to send in something for an episode of Subscriber Showcase, there are 3 easy steps to follow which can help you achieve this. Number 1, subscribe to my channel. Number 2, email modelminutes@hotmail.com any high quality pictures, video, text or audio of your work. And 3, wait for the video featuring your work to go live. Don't forget to send me your links for YouTube channels, Twitter, Instagram, etc. so I can include them in the videos. All that's left to say is thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you all on the workbench again next time.